Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Healing Financial Wounds for an Abundant Future. My name is Michelle Eisenberg, and I am a program assistant here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the NASDAQ Center is a nonprofit building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. So as you will see in the chat in a moment, the NASDAQ Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So definitely make sure to check out those links and resources in the chat. And then just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, let us know where you are dialing in from in the chat. We always love to connect. And second, we are going to open up for a live Q&A at the end of the event. So please make sure to submit your questions for us in that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation, and we will try our best to get to all of them. And of course, none of what we do could be possible at the center without all of the amazing support from our sponsors, including NASDAQ, Lehigh University, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Wells Fargo, the Nareet Foundation, Walmart.org, JP Morgan Chase, BPM, HubSpot for Startups, and Google Cloud. We are humbled by their contributions and hope you are grateful too. And so before we get started, we always like to launch a couple polls to step back, see how everyone is doing today. We are in a new year. All right, so I'm going to launch this first poll. How are you feeling about your business? How are you feeling? Fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? And I'll give it a few moments for folks to respond here. Awesome, awesome. I'll give it one more moment. Looks like we got the majority. All right, I am going to go ahead and close this poll and share these results. All right, looks like optimism coming up in the lead, but we also have feelings of surviving and anxiety. So hopefully this shows you that whatever you are feeling, you are not alone. And hopefully, I'm very confident that our presentation and conversation today will help alleviate some of those anxious feelings. So I'm going to stop sharing this poll and launch that second one. What is keeping you up at night? Is it finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, team, or surviving? We'll give this one just a few moments. Awesome. We got folks from Ohio, DC metro area, Alabama, Maryland, Texas, New York, Las Vegas, Nevada, Atlanta, Georgia, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Los Angeles, Tennessee, Michigan, Texas, Ohio, Washington, Switzerland, California, Georgia, Alabama. Wonderful. New Jersey. Welcome, welcome. Salt Lake City, Utah. Awesome. Missouri, Illinois. We got some Midwest. Wonderful. All right. Some snowy St. Louis. Awesome. Wonderful. Love to see it. Awesome. We got folks from all over the place. Kentucky. All right, I am going to go ahead and end this poll now and share these results. All right, we got finance coming up in the lead, sales close behind, very fitting for our topic for today, but I see we got needs all across the board here. So thank you all so much for participating. I'm going to stop sharing this poll, and without any further delay, please join me in giving the warmest welcome to our special guest, Kalpashree Gupta. CEO at Connect Group LLC. Kalpa, so excited to have you here today. This is such an important topic and way to kick off the new year. So I'm going to pass it right over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're staying warm wherever you are. I'm dialing in here from Austin, Texas. So, hello to the fellow Texans. We have someone from Switzerland. Looks like we've got the entire U.S. covered. No matter how you're feeling, my intention today is you take away some nuggets to healing your financial wounds for an abundant future. Because what? You deserve it, right? You are the future of entrepreneurship, the spine, the backbone of the US economy, the global economy, and we all could do better. If you can skip to the next page. Thank you, Anna. So my intention today is, first of all, I want to make sure that you know that this presentation could be triggering for some. And by trigger, I mean you may feel activated in your body. So be present because we are also going to talk about trauma. So if you feel any kind of discomfort, I invite you to sit down with your discomfort and seek help before you project your unprocessed thought on others. And that's for your own inquiry, your own growth at your own timeline. And guess what? You have full permission, right? And consent in your healing journey. My intention today is to share my story so that it can help you or someone and because knowledge often is the first step towards healing and self-awareness. And we are the foundation of our businesses. Without us, there's nothing, honestly. So the more self-aware we are, the more we can heal our wounds, the more money we can claim in our business and build trust and connection in our lives. And that's my intention. Next page. So why is it relevant to talk about financial wounds and healing those? Because I came across this survey in about a year and a half ago. Well, it was late 2023. So I'm losing track of time with New Year's, and I'm turning 45 next week. So it's that time of the year where everything feels like you lose some timelines. But in October 2023, late that year, there was a research by Experian where it said 68% of US adults have experienced and currently experiencing financial trauma. And that really caught my attention because that number, a couple of years prior to that, I had seen that number to be in the 30s. So certainly a lot has happened, between late 2018, 2019, and 2023. We had a big pandemic, some economic recession. And maybe people are talking more about it. So no matter what your experience is, know that others have gone through it. In addition, I do a lot of work in my own journey in early childhood experiences. And one of the research that I had come across years ago was the A study done by Casa Permanente and CDC. And that said 2/3 of adults in US have experienced adverse childhood experiences as defined by abuse, neglect, and family dysfunction. It is also the silent epidemic. So no matter what your experience is, I know we are going to talk about financial trauma. Just know that these are all connected and you are not alone. And it does not need to be this way. If the picture is, a lot of you said, I'm excited, right? And some of you are feeling 8% anxious. And money is top of mind for many of us, money and sales. But the statistics why I'm sharing, it's very relevant. And we have an opportunity to create products and services and how we create our businesses so that people feel connected. Because end of the day, we all want fulfillment and we are doing it to make an impact, right? So next page, please. So a little bit about me. I had the best job that enabled me to travel around the world, lead a global team where I was managing 40% of acquisition experiences for consumers and small businesses for 20 plus markets as a director in a financial services company, in a large Fortune 100 company. And all of a sudden, I felt burnt out and I had to leave. And I also had an incredible marriage that I felt I needed to walk away from at the time. And I realized that it has nothing to do with the job, my boss, or it had nothing to do with the marriage. They say, wherever you go, there you are. And I realized at some point in my life that I was the common denominator and there was stuff that I needed to deal with, right? How many of you feel like you have had stuff to deal with or you needed to deal with? I can't see the chat and I can't see your face, but if you feel called to drop it in the chat or just stay with that question for yourself, I'm going to share what my stuff was. It may not have been anything to do with what you are going through, but I realized is how what I was going through was also impacting how I was showing up in my life, in all areas of my life, right? In my case, I was sexually abused as a child for over 16 years by multiple different people, including someone in my family, a neighbor who taught me, a cousin. And often we have experiences, whether as a woman or even men, because 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before they are 18 years old. No matter what your experience has been, we are often taught that, and we are told to just get over it, right? And that's what I did for years. I was getting over it. I was performing and it was paying me well, in my life. But there was one point, it just didn't work anymore. I was pushing all things under the rug. I was doing my best. But there are some things that unless you deal with them, they will keep poking at different areas of your life. And that's what happened to me. I spent many years running away from it, and my wish today is to save you from some of that time, right? My story is my story, but what breaks my heart is when I interviewed nearly couple of dozens of women, and their stories broke my heart in equal measures. So if you are here because your heart is breaking or you're feeling lonely, and we are here to mend and we are here to heal and connect and open to receive, and that's what brings abundance in our life. I will share with you some things that I've learned in my life that can help you, and I'm determined to help as many people as I can. I can, so that we don't repeat the same cycle, and all the shame and guilt and blame and everything, the trauma stops with us. My expertise combines my personal experiences, the trauma, overcoming the post-traumatic growth, the overcoming shame and my post-traumatic growth, and also my corporate experiences. I worked in financial services for nearly 15 years, and I've since starting my business, I've also shared my stories at Google, many other tech forums, industry forums, and not-for-profits. And I do the work so that we can be open to receive and claim our worth in our empires. Next page, please. So this is for you if you have experienced abuse or trauma, if you feel depressed, anxious, or fearful of your finances or money matters. Number 3, if you find yourself overworking and underselling or underpricing your services. Number 4, you feel you are not worthy, don't deserve, or are not enough. If you can go back to the page or the before, Anna, like number 3. And just hold this thought on worthiness. And yes, hold it. Anyway, sorry about that. The previous page that had the baby's picture, I don't know if any of you noticed that. This one is my 4-year-old picture when I was traveling with my parents, right? And this was before, I think, the abuse started. And can you just imagine, like, telling a child that they are not worthy? But some of us just carry all that experience into our adult life because we are not healing, and we don't even realize that we are doing it. Since then, I've traveled around the world. I'm also published a book, which is The Going Places. It has some story about my travel. It's a multi-author book. It became Amazon best-selling seller like last year, the year before, in 2023. If yeah, so go if you can move to the next page, Anna. Thank you. The reason I'm saying is some of these so this is for you if you've felt any way any of these feelings of not worthiness, you don't deserve, because that's not true. So you are here because you want to feel supported, you want to receive and release the hold that these hidden experiences may have. Maybe you've shared some experiences with somebody, maybe you haven't experienced anything, but you carry some shame and some feelings that are keeping you disconnected. And you're here to build trust and connection so that you can create financial freedom and your legacy of abundance, right? So you are in the right place, no matter where, where you are, right? Whether you're feeling lonely, whether you are the only one, or, just, and just know that you're not alone, right? I'm trying to see the sentiments in chat too. I'm glad it's resonating. If you move to the next page. So my promise is I'm here to make you feel, I'm committed to helping you feel. I can't make you feel. You choose the feelings, right? I'm here to committed to helping you feel understood, loved, and abundant. And by the end of this hour, you will have more awareness of how to recognize financial trauma and how to overcome, and with some habits, and that can affect it, really have profound effect on your business, sales, money matters, and adult life. And that's my commitment if you stick till the end of this hour. Next page, please. So what we will cover today is, number one, what is financial trauma, its definition and some causes, different scenarios. Number two, how to recognize. I will share 12 signs of financial trauma and some hidden ways that it impacts your finances and money mindset. And number three, how to overcome. So 6 habits that can actually help you in your healing journey. And I will teach you as much as I can in the limited time that we have today. But before I conclude, I promise to show you how you can go even further and get more help. Next page, please. So what is financial trauma? I love this definition that I came across in Business Wire. And it says a deep and ongoing emotional reaction to financial troubles now or in the past, from financial hardships or unrelated trauma. And this is key. So your financial trauma, a lot of us think, oh, it's because of money or our challenges or hardship, but it can also be how you deal, your relationship with money can be impacted by unrelated trauma, separate from finances. And we'll get into that shortly. And you may feel it's characterized by overwhelm, like feelings of helplessness, fear, often shame, and which is disconnecting from others and retrieving, and guilt and despair related to financial matters. So I do hope, as we go through this, you see some hope and a path forward for you. Next page, please. So what causes financial trauma? I have categorized them into 6 categories, right? And we are going to look at those categories with some different examples. So first is your direct financial experiences and hardships, including any financial crimes. Number 2 is any adverse childhood experiences around abuse, neglect, or family dysfunction. Number 3, any family and generational experiences that might cause financial trauma. Number 4, financial discrimination. Number 5, any institutional and influences that we may have. And number 6 is global or national events. So let's dive into each of those areas. When I talk about your direct financial hardship, it's like losing a job. I've lost a job. divorce, partner refusing an alimony. It could be your partner is abusing you financially, right? Or sometimes our healthcare costs are so high, people can get into medical debt or bankruptcy, fraud and scam. I've worked in the financial industry a long time prior to starting my business, and particularly as a fraud risk manager. And I've only seen although the percentage might be going down, but the scale and all that is increasing, particularly as more and more our transactions get digitized, right? So scams, identity theft, all of these have one of my clients went through that recently. So all of these things can have an impact on your relationship with money and how you feel about finances. Number two, your adverse childhood experiences. So that is, I categorize them into three categories: abuse, neglect, and family dysfunction. Your abuse, the abuse can be sexual, emotional, and physical. Neglect could be physical or emotional. The family dysfunction can be domestic abuse, mental illness, substance abuse, incarceration. And I have this is one area that when I work with my coaching clients, we dial deep into different areas of their life and work and relationship and money and friendships, and how this trauma that they may have encountered in younger years the patterns might be still not resolved and showing up into different areas. And we work to build new habits, to shift into a new identity. In later pages, you will see a link to a survey, so that I highly encourage you to take that survey. I'll share that towards the end. You can take that at your time and become aware. Not from a place of shame or blame or guilt, but just sometimes just the awareness brings clarity into, oh, I had these things and they might have a role in my life right now, and I need to resolve, right? So you will get that survey shortly towards the end. Number three, family and generational. And that has to do with your financial trauma that is coming to you because of your financial struggles that your parents went through, right? Elder financial abuse, belief through generations that you may have encountered because one of my clients, for example, uncovered a money belief while working with me. Money is grown folks' business, right? And which means that with children, you don't talk about money, and as a result, the child doesn't even know how to manage money until they become adults. And sometimes they just don't know. They are just running their life unconsciously without any financial literacy. And so some of these things, they generate in our families just the way we are brought up, and they can cause additional micro traumas in our life. Number four, financial discrimination, which I don't know if you can believe this, but until like 50 years ago, women could not be a co-signer in any loans that we took without a male co-signer, right? And that is just in the last 5 decades. There's racism, there's ageism, there's discrimination against people based on gender identity, people with disability. So these are things that can put you at an additional disadvantage in terms of encountering some financial trauma. Number five is institutional level influences. And by institutional level influences, I mean what has been taught to you in your educational life as far as the money, right? Or not, or taught about financial literacy, or not taught about, budgeting or financial literacy. When it comes to media, what do you hear about money? Who do you see when I say somebody is rich? Like, what is the demographic that you see? Do you see that you can be rich, or do you have certain beliefs about who can be rich based on what we see in media? Our judicial systems, through legal and policing, like does it put us at additional financial harm? When it comes to our medical healthcare system, like, are we at disadvantage, based on certain situations or demographics? So these are all the things on the fifth level, right? And then the broader context in which we operate, the global and national events. So, for example, the pandemic that we all lived through, economic recessions, depending on your age and generation, and you might have lived several or just one, at least one more recently. some of our families might have lived through wars or dislocation, and so that can cause also trauma. So by now, take a deep breath. If I'm painting a very dismal picture, just check in with your body and take a deep breath. This is for awareness. So that you can become aware that these things are shaping some of your beliefs, right? And then you can unlearn. So financial trauma is, in essence, any of those experiences you may have had about money, including judging other people's financial status, that have caused you a huge degree of stress. I'll repeat it again. It's any of those experiences you may have had about money, including judging others' financial status, that have caused you a huge degree of stress. So it's time to then move to the next section on how to recognize. Okay. So these are 12 signs that I have accumulated, like based on work and research and coaching my clients. And the thing that I want you to take away from this page is there are hidden ways that trauma can impact your finances and money mindset. Like I said, already demystified that it's not always money, it's many other things that are actually causing you financial trauma. So in this page, the first 8 items that you see listed, they are behaviors. And then the last 4, 9 through 12, that you see are more emotional or physical manifestation of how the trauma shows up. And I thought it's important to recognize both. So first is money avoidance. If you know people, or maybe it's you don't even want to open the bill for fear of not being able to pay up or owing money to others, or you avoid money conversations, it's a telltale sign of financial trauma. Or maybe you don't even want to budget or do anything. It's like anything to do with money people avoid, then it's money avoidance. And it's a very clear sign of financial trauma. Number 2, addictive or compulsive spending, where you may have the money or you may not have the money, and you spend money, and you're spending money just to get the dopamine hit, to feel good. And as soon as you buy that big thing, you're again going back to a low point. So when you do compulsive spending, overspending, that's a sign of financial trauma. The other end of the spectrum is number 3, underspending, where you may have the money, but you're still not spending enough on your needs, because you for fear of not having enough when you need it. Imagine somebody having the money and not spending enough on their nutrition. That's also financial trauma. Number 4, workaholism. Well, it's in some ways it's alcoholism, because the addiction to workaholism, and you may work excessively to avoid perceived financial setbacks or difficulties, and it leads to burnout. I've had that. I was completely a workaholic. I'm recovering workaholic. It leads to burnout and manifested in serious mental health and physical health in my case, particularly mental health issues, right? So, and people don't talk about it, but the burnout, once you actually are burnt out, it can take several years, from a few months to several years, to actually fully like heal and build some habits that are actually sustaining you for a better version of life in future. Number 5, a financial dependency, when you rely on another person for meeting your financial needs, such as elderly individuals, or maybe you are a stay-at-home partner, or maybe you are earning but your other partner is controlling your finances. And financial dependency, I'm not saying it's always causing issues, but particularly just watch out when you don't have any control on your money, when it comes to money in your relationships, and you're depending on the other person for basic needs. Number 6, financial abuse from a partner in a marriage. Number 6 is lack of financial boundaries. So things like when you are not setting your financial boundaries with a partner, maybe a boyfriend, a partner, a husband, or a wife, you may not recognize unhealthy financial habits that you have, And you may allow unknowingly, unwantingly, inadvertently to take advantage of your financial illiteracy. Number 7 is scarcity mindset. And this is a lot of what is, as an entrepreneur, no, it's tied to the feeling of not enoughness, and that leads you to not charge money, do a lot of work, and overwork, and not charge money. A lot of it is rooted in the belief that we don't have enough, universe doesn't have enough, because somebody, if I charge more, then somebody has to lose, or somebody gains, then it's my loss. It leads people to hoard objects, and it's not a very healthy habit, and it is really the result of trauma, the feeling of not enoughness. So a lot of the work that you do is really around um, healing that part. Next is excessive health risk aversion. So I don't know if you know people, but I've come across people in life, particularly certain generations, they won't open bank account, for example, or not invest in mutual funds or stocks, even if they have access, because they feel keeping cash is the safest money habit, and cash loses value. So if you are an entrepreneur, at some point you have to go back, and you might need to take line of credit or loans to fund your business, or at some point, even if it's not early stages, at some point you do need that to take a healthy amount of risk. So excessive risk aversion is a sign of financial trauma. And then, so these are the 8 behaviors that you see. The next 4 are more manifestation emotionally or physically. So if you're feeling depressed, you have persistent worry, always worried about anxiety, that's how it kind of feels like, and emotionally. That is also financial trauma, could be at the root of it. Number 10, this is both like an emotional response and also a outcome, is social isolation and withdrawal. So with the financial trauma, I remember many times in my life, even though I had like amazing jobs, but you feel like you're not earning enough, or you don't have the title, or you, even if you have the money, like you are not able to, it's not meeting your expectation of what you thought you needed to have at that point in your life, or you're not able to buy something for your child, or not send them to private schools, or not even give good, save enough, right? And that can lead to shame, embarrassment, and guilt sometimes. And if you don't recognize that, slowly that leads to social isolation, and you self with selecting to be out of networking or meeting people, which can lead doors for other opportunities. So just be aware of that. Number 11, physical health, and oftentimes it leads to sleep problems. Particularly, this problem of anxiety, the tension in the muscle, tightness in jaw, gastrointestinal problems, headaches, migraines, that these are underlying trauma conditions that haven't been resolved, and they are finding physical manifestation. And lastly, emotional outbursts. And this is probably true for many other things, but financial trauma, like if you imagine like not opening the bill and you're not talking about it, and your child is suddenly wanting you to be present, or your partner wants to have a conversation about something, and you're just lashing out because you're just not expressing the helplessness, or whatever anxiety, worry that you may have, it absolutely finds your way, and sometimes not in a healthy way, right? So these are different signs. So why is it important to recognize, right? It's because if you don't have the awareness, your subconscious mind tries to protect you by keeping you stuck at a certain level of income, and because it feels safe based on the financial past trauma, or the level of money we think we deserve or we should have, without feeling guilty about the other unhappiness that surrounds the world. So this creates an income ceiling. When I say rich word, right, what do you think rich is? Like, can you proudly say I'm rich? Like, what do you feel in your body? Would you allow yourself to be rich without even letting everybody, like, I know so many people who many people I know, when I say I am rich, they will have judgments. Oh, rich is dirty, this is bad, because there's always this feeling of rich. When you have the money, people do mean things, they get isolated. But I want you to know the money is only a tool, and it amplifies what you already have. So if so I want more conscious, good-hearted business people to make more money, because that's how you create tools and you make an impact. Money is an energy. So for you, really, I would love for you to reflect on um, how does financial trauma show up. If you feel called to drop it in the chat, if any of these 12 resonate with you, and just make sure that you journal on this. If you go to the next page, please. So this is one of my clients who I shared the story because when we started working a couple of years ago, or more recently, I shared with her that I'm doing the webinar and teaching more on financial trauma. And her feedback was, I'm so glad you're doing it, because in the larger picture, when we talk about mental health, awareness, and trauma, very few people touch on how it affects your finances. And how it affects how you manage your finances. So trauma or financial trauma, it's all part of healing. You can't work on one and not another. And it was a byproduct of our coaching that she also reduced the debt by $10,000, $8,000. And I'm sharing this story to know that sometimes when you work, more often than not, when you're working on healing yourself, you are healing many areas of your life. Next page, please. This is more journaling for yourself. If you're taking, by the way, this presentation is going to be available to you. I should have said that up front, but if you are journaling and taking notes, make sure to take one note, one takeaway that has resonated with you so far about, and potentially about your money beliefs. And feel free to drop anything in the chat that you think is your insight. You'll be surprised. Somebody else might have a different insight, and we always learn by sharing with each other. Next section, please. So far we have learned what is financial trauma, and then how to recognize. Now, and I know many of you are waiting for this, like how to overcome, right? So we will cover how to overcome. And I'll teach you as much as I can, and then also share more resources before, so you can get more help. Next page, please. So many of you, I know a lot of you, it's resonating with a lot. I'm seeing the chat a little bit, but some of you might be saying, I don't have any trauma. And no matter where you are, one of the things I want you to do, a powerful habit, is forgiveness. Because forgiveness is the key to overcoming shame and healing, and also being open to receive the abundance the universe has. And I love this quote by Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He has the Book of Forgiveness. If you are struggling to forgive and on your healing journey, I highly recommend that book. Forgiveness is the only way to heal ourselves, to be free from the past. Without forgiveness, we stay tethered to the person who harmed us, right? And when we forgive, we take control back of our own fate and our feelings. We become our own liberator. And who doesn't want that? It took me several years until my mid-30s to realize that I was really being in my way of my own joy, and I was giving away my own power. So no matter where you are, bring this into your a toolbox. I love in the chat someone from South Africa dialing in. Google, thank you for the call out. Okay, next one, how to overcome. So here are 6 habits. This is a combination of overcoming financial trauma and also healing from trauma, other, sexual trauma, for example, which can be applicable to pretty much all kinds of trauma. So number 1, since we are focused on financial trauma, create a financial plan, right? For some of you, it may mean just listing out what is your income source and what are your expenses, and seeing the gap, or hopefully some positive, and trying to figure out how to grow income versus staying focused on how to reduce expenses over time. For some others, it may mean that you have some advanced, financial, savings and some other assets and liabilities, and you need to create a diversified plan with a financial advisor. No matter where you are, know your numbers. So create a plan. You can start with simple spreadsheet to seeking help, right? Number two, journaling. I've been doing journaling for nearly nearly 25, 30 years, since I was 16, pretty much. And it's a powerful tool to release and get underneath any heavy feelings that you have as to why you are having those, and seeing the patterns in your behavior and reflection. Journaling for me is also thinking. It's like very therapeutic. So I highly recommend 15-minute journaling in the morning, or at night. And also make sure you're taking stock of gratitude, like you're taking stock of what you're grateful for in life. Number three, um, let go of shame. I call this a habit because you need to choose to let go. You need to look at your childhood picture. Like if you don't have near you, find a picture of you, and would you want that child to carry that shame for whatever happened in their life, right? That you are all carrying your childhoods, the younger selves, in some way, shape, or form, no matter what your experiences, and you are worthy of great abundance. So let go of any shame for that. And number four, forgiveness, which I already said, but forgiveness is a daily practice. You need to be aware of where you're holding the trauma, where you're holding the grudge. For example, do you remember when you go to a grocery store, people holding doors for you, or do you only remember when they bang the door at you, right? So let go. When somebody cuts you when you're driving on the freeway, are you thinking that they may have an emergency, or are you thinking you're cursing and you're again accelerating, putting yourself at risk of further danger? So use forgiveness and each day, and you'll see your life transform. Number five, which is the somatic work of many things. I highly recommend meditating in the morning for 30 minutes. It's become a practice for me for several years, but now I almost meditate for an hour, like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes before going to bed. Breath work, like I just realized I was talking too fast. So I'm going to drink some water and take a breath. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Right. So be present in your body, move, exercise, walk, dance, incorporate movement in your daily work. Journaling is a good practice for, releasing, figuring out things, thinking, but also movement, because we are energy, right? Emotions are energy in motion. So you need to, when you're feeling angry, overwhelmed, exhausted, or any kind of deep, like very, very intense emotions, you need to allow it to move through your body without judging it, right? We get and you need to get centered in your body, move yourself from your head to your body, to really release a lot of the trauma. Then lastly, it's connecting with others. You are the source and creator of abundant life, so you need to reach out to people and connect, right? Don't disconnect from others. Next page, please. I won't necessarily go into the details of this page, but you'll have the presentation. These are additional resources on the left that I have listed for in case you fall prey to any financial crimes like identity theft, or some resources for mitigating elderly financial abuse from my peers in the industry from FTC, Federal Trade Commission. Like they have some resources. Then NACHA, which is an association for payments industry professionals. They also have some great resources for elderly financial abuse. And lastly, remember to do review your credit reports if you're in US thrice a year. There are 3 bureaus, and you have rights to receive those free once a year. So make sure you're monitoring. For our international folks, depending on where you are, make sure that you are also being aware about what financial information is out there, and you're monitoring that. And lastly, I had promised the A score. The link at the top. Let me see if I can drop it in the chat. You can take that test to actually. I'll drop it in the chat, and I think we will also make sure to send the presentation so you'll have access. You can take that test to. It's a publicly available source to know your A score. I also created a self-worth score for because I saw that not enoughness is causing so much problem in how we charge, how we show up in sales calls, or when we are marketing our services and products. And that's where I created the self-worth quiz so that you become more aware of which areas of your life need a little bit more dose of love, right? So make sure to take that quiz. You can scan the QR code and it'll take you to that quiz. You'll have access to that. I created that. The next page, please. So the impact of the habits is one of my long-term, overworked, underpaid clients who was tripped up by toxic bosses and burnt out told me, thank you for doing this and being more than just my coach. I now sit and eat breakfast with my tea. And what would they do? Fire me? That's not true. And every time I read her, the reflect on that conversation, it just fills my heart. So just know there is a path forward. So when I work with my clients for 3 months, we spend time creating their vision, the strategy, the goal, so that they can get clarity and build their influence and understand what their core habits are and start habits that heal. Next page, please. So I would like to honor you for taking action and being here today. If those of you who came here for, all the information, the formal part of the presentation is over now, but the next minute, I'll take a next minute or so to just share something powerful for those of you who want more additional help before we open the Q&A. If you would like to have the conversation on what that could look like to work with me, if we work together, we can chat. Remember, you're not alone. That's why I have created, today transition from my corporate life to coach, and I do that full time. I also speak because I'm passionate about money and passionate about helping, people with mental health, right? So I'm a coach. I'm not a counselor or therapist. I hope that you have an expanded understanding of how ACEs and traumas can impact your money mindset. You have been able to identify some of your own, and you have seen that there's a path to get to the other side. I will share shortly my contact information so you can get more resources. And I've shared you some stories, so hopefully you know that there's a path forward. And so I have something very special that I want to share with you, because there are very, very few people who actually embark on this journey, right? It's the key to changing the dysfunction that we are experiencing in our workplace. And I only work with very few people, clients at a certain time. So in the next page, you'll see a QR code. Please only book the book time if you are serious about getting to the other side of your scarcity and learning to heal, so you can show up and fully express yourself at home, at work, at all area of your life, because you're worthy. So if you're feeling motivated to go with this journey with me, the middle QR code will give you access to my calendar, where you can book a 30-minute free discovery call to see what's next for you, and explore working with me if that serves you. It's a no obligation, there's no cost to you. And in this conversation, you'll get clarity on how you have lived how your lived experiences have been holding you back until now. And I will share with you our path on how to begin healing and create a forward a plan so that you're commanding the prices you deserve, right? And I also have the right side, my left side of the screen. You will see the QR code that has linked to my QR code. You can scan it. It'll take you to my LinkedIn, connect with me. And then the right side of the screen has linked to the free newsletter that I share. So these are all the ways you can work with me, follow me. I highly encourage you to take use of the 30-minute discovery call if you're serious to see what's the right next step for you to get you unstuck where you are. With that, I thank you so much for being here today. Over to you, Michelle.
Kalpa, thank you so much. What an incredible presentation. And, I think just so much of what you talked about resonates, especially as we're entering into a new year and reflecting so much on, the past year, and the decisions made and what we can do better going forward in this new year. And so I think we have time for a couple questions before closing out. If you're in the audience and you have a question for Kalpa, please drop it into that Q&A box at the bottom, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. We do have one person here that's, asking about, how important it is to answer, survey questions when applying for loans, grants, etc., in a world of discrimination. And I guess in general, I'm curious about, your thoughts on, you know, uh, what entrepreneurs can do, who maybe have identified, financial trauma in relation to, financial institutions and how that can maybe, be hindering them as they're, applying to those things and what they can do to really strengthen their position there. I'm not sure. I wonder if it goes back to kind of like those, foundational elements of forgiveness and, letting go of shame, but what other thoughts you have?
Yeah. Uh, so some of the discrimination is very real, right? We know just from the housing like loan access grant, just that less than 2% of the venture capital funding goes to women and people of color. And I know there are a lot of efforts, even some of the organizations that I've worked with or been indirectly partnered with, many are trying to historically correct and have so many other efforts and grants and loans. So I do think it depends on the situation, right? So there are some companies or some loans and grants they are specifically asking. And again, I'm not a grant expert, but I would tell you just general from a trauma and financial like that experience wise. They are specifically trying to lend to give loan to women or people of color or people with certain disabilities. So it just depends. In those cases I think you definitely want to take advantage of that. But if there are other cases where many organizations I know they are also trying to do the right thing and they want that information in the survey to be able to actually take special action and actually make it more accessible. So I I have personally, and this is a mindset thing, I have never let anything hold me back. I have privilege in some areas, I have not privilege in other areas, right? So I display because and this is part of the healing work because I have allowed my story to be different than somebody else who might have had the same lived experience as me, right? And it's okay because I feel like I'm worthy and I am going to continue applying unless I face discrimination. In that case, too, it just depends. I don't know if that answers the question, but I do think it depends on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful and just kind of like giving perspective. And kind of, somewhat along those lines. We had somebody else that was, asking about, for them specifically, they kind of have experienced, this hyper independence or like forced self-reliance, kind of like a fear of accepting help from others. And so what are your thoughts on, moving past that fear so that you can really access those, loans or investors that you desire for yourself or for your business?
Yeah, so just to make sure I understand your question, so this is this hyper reliance on ourselves, like being the lone wolf and trying to just do
Yeah.
it versus like, and this is what I say, like this whole, the path to entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey, right? And it'll kick out all kinds of fears, and one of which is self reliance, because we are taught that this whole story around capitalism in US and just in general is the Western, particularly Western world is, oh, they are self-made. Nothing is self-made. People had some different access, better access, opportunity. They got to where they were because they were in the right place, in the right access. They knew the right people. So when you are applying, and somebody recently said in a presentation that stuck with me is um, it's not about who you know, it's about who you know, what do they know about you, right? And are they willing to pay you for those things? So unless you actually partner with people, have mentors, reach out, apply for those things, money, you are just going to limit your growth, right? So you need to be out there and looking for opportunities that is best for your business, and it has nothing to do with your self-worth, because your worth is infinite, right?
Oh, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, no, I think that's really helpful. Amazing.
Oh,
Okay.
someone
Oh
I
yeah, go for
asked,
it.
sorry, I'm seeing some of the questions with oh, they had with three QR codes, they only had time to catch one. So I don't know if we can
We can
Julie,
share that information afterwards with everyone.
yeah, and then my contact links via follow up via email here. I'm going to drop that in the chat real quick. I
Yeah,
can't
we just
I
had Anne
can't
put that
spell.
in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, if you can put that in the chat, Michelle, my email. Like I can't for some. Oh, there you go. I can see it now. Um, I'm trying to make sure I answer some simple questions that I can, as many questions I can get to. Okay, that's my email.
Yeah.
My email is there. Um, where was that? Outside of personal healing, are there any recommendation around how to best support your children to reduce the likelihood of their mimicking or financial trauma? Oh, I love that question. One of the practices, simple practices I have with my son is I say some affirmations to him in the morning, like you're worthy, you are loved, you are deserving, and I love you, I'm proud of you, and you're the king of the world. And like I just like pour all the things that, like, you are the leader, you are the creator. Like, an affirmation is a great tool that we can just say positive things to our children. Other thing I ask from what he can do is list gratitude. So we have a gratitude practice at nights where I would ask, tell me like 5 things you like about me. Like what do you appreciate about me more than the doing, the being, right? These are some simple things we can do with our children so they can practice, get into the mindset of noticing good things in life, because our brain has a lot of negativity, and also sharing like our origin stories, and being aware more than our children. Like, how can also we be aware that we are not projecting our traumas on our children?
Wonderful. Kalpa, this has been so incredible. Thank you for such an amazing overview, and actionable strategies that folks can implement right away. So if you had just one key takeaway or piece of wisdom that you wanted to leave with the audience, what would that be?
You're worthy and you're not alone. No matter where your journeys are, the dreams that you have, right? It's there for a reason. And only you are uniquely qualified to realize that vision. The question is, are you going to listen to your fears, or are you going to have faith and actually seek resources and go all in? So just remember that you have support. You just have to ask for it and tap into it.
Amazing, Kalpa. Thank you so much. This has been so incredible. On behalf of the NASDAQ Center and everyone here today, we are just so thankful that you joined us. And to our audience, we would love for you to join us again for upcoming webinars, which you can view using those links that are going to be posted in the chat. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming you back online with us soon.